Make sure I'm unmuted tonight. Hello and welcome, guys, to episode 12 of FletchDota, July 9th, 2014. We are now solidly well past 10 episodes, which is, of course, the 2-week mark, and working our way straight through week 3 of the episodes. And right now, we are square in the beginning of TI-14. We've got about another week and a couple of days of festivities remaining in the full TI event. We, of course, have the main event to look forward to on the 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21st. Maybe? That could be. Schedule. Yeah, it goes all the way to the 21st. Okay, I was a little confused if it only went to the 20th. It seemed like 3 days was the main event, but it's actually 4 days of main event. The main event ends on the 21st, which is a Monday, of all things. It is the grand finals, and then, of course, the press conferences following up the pre and post match press conferences. So grand finals gets its own day. You don't have to worry about conflicting with anything else, which means it should be done before the episode of FletchDota, and I'll have plenty to talk about there. We'll have lots of press interviews to talk about. Of course, today the playoffs are not done yet. They are still going on, so I expect quite a few of you have decided to watch the playoffs rather than this, and I respect that entirely. I certainly hope you'll check out at least the YouTube VOD later on tonight, just so you can go ahead and get a little bit of exposure to episode 12. And if, of course, you choose not to, I won't hold it against any of you to skip these episodes as we go through the international. Now, maybe once we get out of the phase 2? I think we're in phase 2. Once we get to phase 3, I think it might be ending a little bit earlier in the day and having other events happen at night, which means maybe y'all be able to make it for the episodes of FletchDota as we get here a couple more days in the future. But as of right now, if you don't have the internet to multi-stream, I understand there's a lot of people who can barely run one stream, and that is not a problem. Go watch TI4. You can always watch the news at another time. I'll be doing a really big episode following TI4, and hopefully we have more news outside of TI4 at that point. Because really, all I'm going to talk about right now is TI4, because that's all there is. Actually, I lied. There's a few other things that I'll get to today specifically that are not TI4 related. They are Dota related, though. As, of course, everything will be on FletchDota, your weeknight source for anything and everything Dota 2 related. So, getting into TI4, as I always do, we're going to start off with the prize pool, which is halfway to that 600,000 mark. We are now at 10.567. So that's $10,567,247. So we're square on our way at the current pace we are going to hit 11 million. If we get $50,000 a day, we should hit the 11 million mark before the grand finals, which is what I want to see. Now, right now, so yesterday we were at 10.5. Today we're at 10.56. So we got a little bit more than 50,000, which is good. We want to beat the pace that we have to set. And right now we're doing that. The big thing with 11 million, I think with 11 million in the prize pool, is that enough to give 5 million to first place? I just don't know. 5 million to first place, for those of you who aren't familiar, is of course the mark that is set to divide by 5 between the 5 players, and you are looking at $1 million apiece. Now, it's not going to be exactly 1 million, of course, because the organization that wins is going to take some. I'm sure the manager gets his cut, coach. I mean, there's a lot more hands reaching into the prize at this point in this, at this stage of the game. But still, it's kind of nice to say in your mind, oh, 5 million, 5 players, 1 million apiece. On top of that, we have, of course, today's event. Wednesday the 9th, we have playoffs phase 2. The group stages began between all 16 teams who have qualified and entered into TI3. I think everybody has had some games today. They should have all had multiple. And I kind of want to actually refresh this page, but it's going to start the video if I do that. So should we take the risk? I think we take the risk. I just got to be fast, guys. I got to be fast. Pausing the video. Come on. Don't make too much noise. Don't you do it. Okay, we had a little bit of noise, but I was able to pause it right away. Now let me go down here and click show current results, because there was a match going on, and yes, I think we have the final results of that. Liquid was playing DK right before I got into this show, and I wanted to see how things were going. It looked like Liquid was square on its way to finish off DK. I guess I should give my obligatory warning. I said this yesterday. I don't think I've said it yet today. If you are scared of spoilers, don't watch the news. It's as simple as that. You don't turn into the news to not hear the news, which is, of course, the events that have happened today. Every single game today, we will be discussing the important ones. There will be spoilers galore. So if you are saving things to watch them, turn me off. You can watch me talk about them after you get a chance to watch everything else. Or you can just skip this episode altogether and we'll have more news tomorrow. Again, I do not hold that against any of you if you decide to do that. The big thing here is I am going to spoil that because that's what the news is a bunch of spoilers about what happened during the day. What is important about today? And today, we had 16 teams start duking it out and quite the unexpected turn of events. Who's on top? Who's on bottom in the group stages? Now, the big one I was talking about, of course, Liquid versus DK. I wanted to see how that ended. That's why I needed to go ahead and refresh. And we should have my results right down here. Let me go ahead and confirm. DK versus Liquid. I think it was in round Series 6. No, it might be Series 5. Here we go. DK versus Liquid. And Liquid did, of course, come out on top. DK had bought a rapier and I believe lost it right before I had to start the show. So those of you who are watching DK versus Liquid, y'all know what I'm talking about. Very intense play coming out from Liquid, and I am quite surprised. Now, that's the thing I want to talk about. I want to run through the scoreboard, and I will throw these up for you guys. This is, of course, on Dota2.com under the International. So if you go right here, under the Watch tab, we've actually got this nice little video player. And before I get to the group stages, I want to talk about this video player. I'm not sure if this works. I just noticed it before the show. But this red bar at the bottom, I'm pretty sure this is a DVR of the entire day. It says go back to 00. And up here it shows 7 hours, 8 hours. I think the entire International's on DVR. I mean, they talked about the DVR. It didn't click to me, though, that right now you can DVR on, what was it, Akamai? Y'all were telling me it's the Akamai host, who hosts a lot of MMOs for many large companies. They are actually hosting the stream for Valve, so plenty of bandwidth, and the stream has been exceptional provided by them, and it's a full DVR for the entire day. So absolutely amazing what Valve has put out to us. I didn't even realize this yesterday. I realized it partway today, and I said, I have to point this out to everybody else. Now, along with that, let me get back over here. We do have the standings, and this is what I'm talking about, the big upset of the day. Na'Vi, US, and Cloud9 are both undefeated. Newbie, of course, really showing that they earned that #1 recognition, where they came into this as favorites to win that #1 spot. Now, of course, the big upsets of the day, LGD 04 and Alliance 03. Alliance, the defending champions from TI3, have not won a single game today. I think they're in a 4th game now that they actually were looking like they might win, so maybe they will end with a game. But a lot of the teams you looked at, and you might say, oh, another MUFC. For example, Team Liquid has already picked up a win against a team like DK. DK has not been up to snuff. Now, you do have to question how much of that is Lan M right now. He has gone to the doctor today at one point during the day for, I think it was migraines he was dealing with. Now, they said hospital, but you have to say, what exactly does that mean? Because it is going to be translated from Chinese to English. And does the exact word for hospital translate to English, or did they just mean doctor/infirmary and you just call it hospital when you translate it? Or at the same time, how do you deal with somebody from outside the United States when they come to the United States for medical care? Do they just go straight to the hospital, or do they visit a local doctor? I'm not entirely sure on that. So whether or not he went to a hospital or a doctor, he has gone to be treated for migraines, but he came back and they continued playing. So I guess they got it sorted out, but he's not in top physical condition right now. And in fact, the Chinese tweet I've got somewhere over here. Let's see, which are these tabs? Tencent microblog. Here we go. I got Tencent's little, I guess it's the equivalent of Twitter. It's really hard to navigate if you don't speak Chinese, but I always just click the translate button on Google Chrome. Commended Google Chrome for translations. And the actual tweet from DK Electronic Sports Club says, Cuneo unparalleled physical discomfort, but the game will not be postponed. I hope the players pay attention to your body. Come on. So I don't know if it's caused by him or not. Maybe he didn't drink enough water. Maybe it's just the fact that they've been traveling so much and practicing so hard. Who knows? But the fact is, he still played his games today, and whether or not that's affecting DK is up for you guys to decide. DK is sitting at 1-2 right now. So only managing to win one game. Now, at the top of the barrel, Cloud9 played phenomenally today in their very first game of the series versus EG. I specifically wanted to talk about this one because this is one of the big matches. I always like to talk about Cloud9 versus EG, mainly because Eternal Envy and Arteezy know each other and each other's teams so well that they can stand in at any point for the other team and perform successfully. And these two players play so well together. So it's always a fun match to watch them matched up against each other. And Evil Geniuses, I believe, just got straight up out drafted. They came in with essentially a Razor versus 3 heroes that deal with Razor exceptionally well. Other than, I mean, I guess Viper kind of, Razor and Viper kind of pretty much even, and that's why you want to pick up a Viper to go ahead and lane against him, and you can kind of deal with the Razor a little bit. But the Mirana and the Drow Ranger, absolutely, maybe Razor can handle one of them, but when you still got the other two to deal with, and you've got they had like a Bat Rider and a Treant, they just had no follow-up to what they needed. They had a silencer, that's not exactly the best in right-click damage unless you're really able to pull off a successful early game. And Mason really wasn't. They ganked him constantly. Sing Sing's arrows were spot on in that offlane Mirana. So Cloud9, exceptional show to start the game. Now Alliance, of course, sitting at, 0-3 as of my last refresh of the page. I don't know if their other game has ended yet. First game of the day to IG. And IG just went out of their minds. Ferrari, we talked about Ferrari yesterday with these 1v1 solo championship and how I said Ferrari is playing out of his mind right now. I said the same thing about S4. Well, S4 was sleeping today, but Ferrari is still playing out of his mind, and Alliance gave Ferrari Brewmaster. That is a no-no. You do not give 3 heroes to Ferrari. You do not give him Ember Spirit, you do not give him Invoker, and you do not give him Brewmaster. Well, they gave him Brewmaster, and he was blinking and slamming all over them, and they could not stop it. So Series 1, Game 4, IG versus Alliance. Definitely a game to watch if you want to see some strong action from Ferrari. That guy is on fire today, and IG is showing it. They are 2-1 right now. Their one loss being to Newbie, I believe, which was in round 3? Yeah, it was in round 3, and that's how Newbie stayed undefeated. On top of that, some other upsets today. Starting off round 1, Fnatic actually beat DK. And this is what I said about Fnatic yesterday. Fnatic, you might think about them, Fnatic's not that strong of a team. Fnatic's always been an extremely strong, possibly one of the strongest teams in best of 1s. It's always been the best of 3s and the best of 5s they struggle with. So you stick Fnatic in this best of 1 situation in the group stages, and they have showed how strong they are. They're sitting at 2-1 right now, and their one loss is actually to one of the biggest upsets of the day, Navi US going undefeated by taking a game off of Fnatic after Fnatic took a game off DK. Meanwhile, of course, and I think that's the big upsets in round 2. In round 1, I don't think anybody expected LGD to beat Newbie. I think Newbie is just on fire right now, and LGD is kind of tapering out. But meanwhile, round 2 came around. Of course, I think the big thing there that I really want to talk about, I need to apologize to Titan. I said, we've got Titan, but they've been kind of weak lately, and, what do we do? Titan needs to really show their stuff. Titan crushed Empire in round 2, and they have been playing phenomenally today. And versus Alliance, that was Alliance's, was that second or third loss? I think that was their second loss of the day was versus Titan. The only team Titan has lost to right now is Cloud9, who we saw crush EG in round 1. So, very respectable team to lose to. It's not like they lost to, forgive me guys, but Arrow. Arrow, who's sitting at 0-3, still has the potential to be this year's MUFC. Of course, we don't want to see anybody go without a single win, but Arrow, Mousesports, and LGD, and even Alliance, as much as it pains me to say it, with S4's performance yesterday, it's still a possibility for all 4 of those teams who have not procured a single win as of this moment. But on top of that, I was in round 2, and Titan completely crushed Empire, and I was not expecting this, but Empire has been very shaky today. Watching Empire coming into this, going before TI4, you looked at Empire and you said that is a solid tier 1 team. But here at TI4, they have performed very, very shakily today. And I'm questioning, I really hope they figure things out by tomorrow so that they can maintain their status in the group stages. Right now, they're 1-2. But maybe they can pull back up into the top 10 at least in the group stages. That's what you really want to see from these teams. Meanwhile, on top of that, what other upsets do we have? Navi US, of course, beating Liquid. I think that was that's probably partially in their favor, of course. How did they get here? They beat Liquid to be here. Now, Liquid, even though they lost to Navi US, great game against DK. They're playing very strong. I think Navi US is just playing so much stronger. If you see Korok today, that guy is on his game. Now, the thing with Korok, he's never been a bad player. Never been a bad player. It's always just been, he's been inconsistent. Sometimes he is just on and you can't stop him. And you're like, wow, there is no better player than Korok. But then other days you're like, is Korok even in this game? What's he doing? But today he is on fire and he is lighting up the Dota fields. And that is how they're undefeated right now. He is just rolling through people. Now, of course, Series 3 that's already happened, DK triumphing over LGD. Fnatic actually beating out Na'Vi. Again, Fnatic with these 1-0, with these one-game matchups, certainly is capable of taking games from every team in this pool. So I fully expect Fnatic to do well in the group stages. The big thing here is I hope they are able to maintain this as they go into the main event. That's always been their big struggles. Once you get into the winners bracket and you start to put them in a best-of-3 series, their strategies start to taper out in the second and third game. Now, something I do want to point out with Fnatic. We had big questions going into today. How will Era play with Fnatic? He hasn't played with them for the past several months, and they've had this big drama concerning Era versus Excalibur. Well, Era is doing amazing. He is doing a great job. And so it's exciting to see Fnatic, I say, on top of their game. I don't think I've seen Fnatic playing better than they are playing today. So they are doing absolutely excellent. They are sitting at a solid 2-1, middle of the pack, tied for 4th place with EG, IG, Vici, Na'Vi, Titan, and Liquid is actually tied for 10th because they haven't picked up a second win. So really excited as they're going throughout the day. Newbie actually triumphed over IG. And this is probably the most interesting match I've seen all day today. I actually got to watch this entire match, and IG came in so strong. They looked like they were going to win it, and I don't say that was Newbie's game to win. I think it was IG's throw. They started to go into an high ground push, and they absolutely just handed that game on a silver platter to Newbie. And that's the kind of game you can't be handing away. They had everything in their favor. They were so far ahead. They have Ferrari on Ember Spirit. Everything was what they needed. And they just said, Newbie, we want you to be undefeated today. We will take a loss. And they just handed it over to them. 322, guys. 322 for IG. Now remember, no betting at TI4 or Kelly Milky's will ban you. So IG, you better not have bet on a loss that game. We will find you. On the subject of IG, though, I do want to get to this before I forget to think about it. Chuan, if you have not watched IG today, Chuan, I gotta say it with one syllable. I wanted to drag it out there. I can't do that. Chuan. That guy has been impeccable with his skill shots. He has been playing Mirana. He has been playing Kunkka. These traditionally greedy supports who are very risky to play. But he has been making them work. His arrows have been coming from across the map in these weird angles that you never, like, you could see a team fight about to happen and suddenly an arrow sneaks in from behind. You're like, where did that come from? And you see Chuan trot out of the trees. It's like, dang it. How did he get here? But he's doing it. He is sneaking those arrows in. So great job by him all day today. Series 4, of course, Titan. Again, I talked about Titan. Defeating Alliance. One of Alliance's loss today is to Titan. They are showing we are the team from Southeast Asia, and we are here to make a performance for all of you. This is, of course, people talked about, is Titan worthy of that invite spot? But they have certainly showed that they earned it. And they are putting up quite the show right now especially against Alliance, the former TI3 champion. Should I say former? The TI3 champion, the returning defending champion, I think is what I intend to say. Now, on top of that, Na'Vi. You might have said, oh, Navi's shaking, lost to Fnatic. They're out of this. Defeated Vici Gaming. No easy feat by any means. So Na'Vi's still in this. Even if they did have a defeat at Fnatic. That is nothing to be ashamed of, because Fnatic, certainly in these best of 1 series, do not underestimate them. Navi US, of course, in that series 4 is where they took that win over Fnatic. One of their mini wins to stay undefeated today. So they haven't just been playing trash tier teams or anything. I mean, all of these teams are top tier, and Navi US has just come out on top. And of course, Mouse Sports versus Empire. Mouse Sports losing to Empire to maintain their spot at the bottom of the barrel, 0-3 right now. Let's see, Series 5, I believe we're into next. Newbie defeating Alliance. Again, Alliance, very shaky against the top teams right now. Not what you want to see coming into the group stages, but hopefully they can reform this by round 2. We've often seen, so today's day 1 of the group stage. We have often seen teams perform very bad on day 1 of the group stages and then bring it all back on day 2. So don't underestimate any of these teams who are losing lots of games right now, but at the same time, don't overestimate the teams that go undefeated. I believe last year we saw EG and Liquid both either get a bunch of wins and come out on top half or go undefeated. I think one of them may have gone undefeated in the day 1 of the group stages last year. And then they got crushed the rest of the group stages. So don't overestimate it. But again, day 1, we still want to see people perform. So at the same time, you know, you have to take it all with a grain of salt. You have to understand that things can still turn around for a lot of these teams. Now, Cloud9 coming out on top of Titan in Series 5. Of course, Game 3 for Series 5. Liquid beating DK. This is the game I was just talking about. It ended right before the cast. And EG coming out on top of LGD. We did finish up all of the Series 6 matches, of course, while we were waiting on Liquid and DK. Series 5 to play. We did play all the Series 6, and we are now in progress on Series 7. And waiting for DK and IG to start. We will work on that Series 7 game. And so we've got Arrow versus Alliance in Series 8. But for Series 6, do we have any upsets? Vici took out Empire. Navi crushed Mouse Sports. Navi US coming out on top of LGD. And that's how they've remained undefeated so far. So great job, Navi US, taking out LGD. Taking out Fnatic. And then what was their third win? Taking out Liquid. So good job, Navi US. Definitely making a showing today for Korok. And we are waiting on Series 7, 8, and 9 to be played the rest of the evening. Those are going on right now. Series 7 is the current one, as well as one Series 8 game because DK was busy in Series 5 still against Liquid. The game taking quite a while for Liquid to finish it up. But then we will see DK versus IG. And honestly, I think IG's got the momentum right now. I wonder if DK is going to be able to stand up against this. Fnatic and EG, though, if I could choose a game to be watching right now, I would be watching Fnatic versus EG because both of these guys are ready to go. Liquid versus Newbie, you know, with how Liquid performed against DK and Newbie are similar enough. Liquid might be able to take this one home. So probably stop by that. I, of course, have, for those of you who don't know about this, there's multi-twitch.tv. I was watching all 4 games at the same time in multi-stream. So I had all four streams going at the same time in multi-Twitch. And then I had, of course, the game I was actually watching going on my Dota client. So there's definitely ways to watch this if you don't have the bandwidth. Now, I mean, if you have the bandwidth for it. Now, if you don't have the bandwidth to watch TI4, there's some people who struggle to watch Twitch streams. There's a couple of sites I stumbled across today that I wanted to bring to you guys. One of those is audiodota.com, which is running the TI4 multi-stream, which is Bruno's stream. Twitch.tv/Dota2Ti, I believe is the multi-stream, which is basically just showing the hot spots of every single stream. Like, oh, some action's happening here, switch to this game, oh, switch to this game, switch to this game. So you can watch all 4 games and only watch the exciting parts with a little bit of commentary in between from the analysis desk and Bruno. Audiodota.com is actually running a radio version of that stream. It's very low bit rate, so anybody should be able to run it. And it's basically radio. That's basically all it is. So you can hear the games. If you just want to hear the games while you're working or whatever, audiodota.com, check them out. Along with that, there is a site doing a text cast. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what a text cast, it's basically like the live RSS feeds that some sites sometimes do during sporting events, where they kind of tell you the big things as they happen. Oh, here's the drafting phase. And that is Dota2World.org category, the International 2014. So I'll go ahead and actually throw that full link in the chat for you guys, Dota2World.org. And then there's the International 2014 button, or you can just go to this link. And they've been casting I think 3 out of the 4 games. They didn't have 4 guys, so they couldn't do every game, every series. But they've been doing 3 out of the 4 each time, and they're just doing a text cast where they're just is kind of tweeting out what the hot things are in the game. So they'd go through the drafting phase, go through big events, big plays, first bloods, team fights, what happens in all of them. So very easy ways to keep up with the international without being able to watch the streams. You can either listen to the radio or you can actually just read a text feed of what went on in the games. And they, of course, have all the games that they did listed there under the International 2014 page. Now, on top of that, let's see, I got all of the games for today. We do, of course, have the standings going in. Let's see, that's tomorrow's matches. Let's go ahead and discuss tomorrow's matches before I get into the rest of the show. So Thursday the 10th, where of course we got 2 more rounds of the day. Tomorrow, as undefeated as some of these teams are, Cloud9 and Newbie sitting on top at 3-0. I think Navi US is sitting at 3-0 as well. And tomorrow, to start the day off, the key matches of the day, I think. First thing in the morning, we've got Newbie versus Titan, and this is going to be a tough game for Titan, but it's really going to show us what Titan is made of. If you want to talk about Titan as a team coming from Southeast Asia, being Southeast Asia's pride and joy, you want to see how they perform against Newbie, who is one of the dominant forces from China right now. Of course, Navi US will be playing against Empire. This will be Empire's chance to come back in and say, hey, we are getting back into this. We had a rocky day 1, but our day 2 certainly going to be strong. Fnatic versus Liquid and IG versus Mouse Sports. Now, series 11, but basically round 2 of the games tomorrow. Huge game coming out in round 2 tomorrow. So this will be about an hour into the day, so about 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Or if you're in Europe, that's 1900? 20, no. I think that's 20. 20 CET. No? Maybe? Yes? No? 1900 CET. I'm confused now. Yeah, I was casting at 1700 CET. Okay, so yeah, 1900 CET. IG versus EG. This is going to be a huge brawl between these two teams, both very aggressive teams, very greedy in their hero picks, and we will see which one of these risky lineups comes out on top. Hopefully EG, recovering after their game 1 today, is able to really pull something off against IG to show us, hey, we are still in this in round 2. Now Navi will be playing Cloud9. Again, Cloud9, one of the teams that is at the top of the ladder right now. That's something Navi wants to take down. If Navi wants to stay in this tournament and say, hey, look, we're still strong. We have performed well in all internationals up to now, and this one is not going to be any exception. They need to perform against Cloud9, who I'm actually being told is 3-1 as of right now. So 3-1 for Cloud9, still at the top of the leaderboards if you look at the standings on Dota2.com. Now, along with that, what other big games do we have? IG, EG, Cloud9, Navi, DK versus Aero, LGD versus Vici, don't really care. What is this? I'll just say Series 12. I can't keep track of which round I'm into. I think I'm in round 3, though, of tomorrow. Fnatic versus LGD, Navi versus Titan. This should be another good showing. Both of these teams looking to prove themselves right now. They're both on, they're both in... They've got a lot of doubts surrounding them, and we want to go ahead and clear that up. That's the game to do it. Navi versus Titan. Which one's going to come out on top? Alliance versus Mouse Sports. I fully expect Alliance to secure a win there. If they don't, Alliance, you are going to be on shaky ground for the rest of this international. Will you even be able to stay in it? And Navi US versus Vici Gaming. It'd be nice to see Navi US continue their undefeated streak. Series 13, Liquid versus Empire. Titan versus Aero, DK versus Cloud9. Hopefully with a good night's rest, DK comes back into this and says, look guys, sorry for day 1. Let's go to day 2. Cloud9, you are in for a match of your life against Team DK, especially after today's performance. On top of that, Evil Geniuses versus Newbie, 2 teams highly reputed to go for that number 1 spot before TI4. Of course, EG's been a little bit shakier on day 1. We will see when they actually clash head-to-head with Newbie on day 2. Series 14, Liquid versus LGD, Navi US versus IG. This will certainly prove, hey, is Navi US a fluke? Or are they just, getting lucky with their best of ones? when they play against IG, if they win IG, they are certainly showing going into the... Okay, I'll be honest with you guys. Na'Vi picking them up before the International, I didn't expect Na'Vi US to fully perform at the International. They had to qualify to get here. They are doing so well right now as the team that they are. I thought we would have to wait till next year to see solid performance from them. But they are already looking like a real team. Their boot camp has worked out for them. And I wonder at this point, do they have a coach that's sitting behind them helping them out? Because they have shaped up. They looked like a team without a clear set goal when they played Dota a lot of the time. They went into late games super shaky, but now it's like they just start putting on the pressure and they don't let up. So Na'Vi US versus IG Series 14 tomorrow, definitely a game. Fnatic and Vici, Cloud9 versus Newbie. Very exciting. Here we go. Cloud9 just has all of their toughest matches tomorrow, I think. Na'Vi, Newbie, and IG all on the same day. That is rough on anybody. Along with that, Mouse Sports will be playing Arrow, and EG will be duking it out with Na'Vi. So Na'Vi, they also have a tough day tomorrow. Series 16, DK will be playing Empire, Na'Vi US Alliance, Cloud9, and Liquid, and then IG and Titan. Another important match for Titan to really prove themselves as the team that they are. Series 17, Newbie and Vici, Na'Vi US and Arrow, Na'Vi and LGD, and then Alliance and Fnatic. This is a chance for Alliance to pull back into this tournament. They need to defeat Fnatic tomorrow. I think this is very important to them, not just for team morale, but for actually the sake of keeping their team in this tournament. And then the final series of tomorrow, Series 18. We are doing 9 series every single game. So that's what, 36 games a day? Newbie versus Mouse Sports, Liquid versus Arrow, IG and Empire, and EG versus Titan. I think of that, EG versus Titan is probably the only one we really care about at this point. IG versus Empire might be something to watch. I think the important thing there is Empire, as shaky as they are today, they're going to get crushed by IG tomorrow if they don't shape up. So we will have to wait and see how they do tomorrow. Again, teams have had shaky day ones before and shaped up by day 2 once they got in the hang of the flow of things at the tournament. Sometimes it takes people a little longer to adjust to how a tournament's going. Na'Vi traditionally is one of those teams. They always seem to have a shaky day 1, and then they get into it, they pull together, they get a feel for how the other teams are playing and the mood of the whole environment. On top of that, of course, we have more information coming out from the international news site. For those of you who don't know, dota2.com/international. There's a little news tab at the top that you can click, and they've been putting out great videos from Hotbid, who's actually gone through. And let me go ahead and cover all the videos that they've added of the day since yesterday, I guess. All the videos today. We've got it looks like a highlight video of Havast. We've got Kuroki, Bulba, TC, Pyrion Flax. I think we said Bone 7 yesterday. I already had that one up there. Scrolling up, we've got top play of the day, MVP versus VP. We've got a fail play, CIS versus Liquid. MVP versus Liquid. Top play, fail plays, MVP versus Liquid. Highlights, VP versus MVP. Short little video with Pyrion Flax risking deportation to get Fnatic. Interviews with Heen, Io, Brax, 1437, Sheever. Who else do we have interviews with? Extinct, Ice. And then we have a couple more TI4 interviews, such as Era teaching new things versus Team DK. I don't even know what to expect with that. EG versus Cloud9 Ultra Kill. So a few highlight videos, but a lot more interviews on that site. So go check out their news site. On top of that, we've of course got the Instagram. Let me go over this. This should be instagram.com/Dota2TI. We've got, of course, new pictures to light off our day from Valve. And basically today is all the teams getting ready. Now, one thing I saw that I really wanted to point out. Is it just me? I'll go and flip this over so everybody can see this. Are they all using keyboards from like 1995? Like, we got this one good keyboard over here for Vici, but then these look like, I don't know, they look like a keyboard from Office Space. And maybe it's just me. Maybe those are actually legitimate keyboards, but I'm sorry. I think those keyboards are older than most of the players on that team. And are many of the Dota players in general. But that is, of course, the Instagram account for Dota, Instagram.com/Dota2. bugging the teams during the group stages with photography. Maybe they haven't, they just haven't posted them yet. Now, final thing for the official Dota2.com site that I wanted to talk about. And I'm not sure what it was exactly. I had something sitting over here on the news site. We actually have the all-star matchup, the full teams. I don't think I was able to read the full teams for you guys the other day, but I do want to go ahead and go over those. Team Havast will be Dindy, Loda, Ice, Arteezy, and Chuan, with Havast coaching, and then Team ROTK will be Puppy, S4, Burning, No Tail, and Ferrari 430 with ROTK coaching. They also have some nice little flags. If I throw this up on the screen, you got a nice little Radiant Donkey and a Dire Donkey. So there you go, the little donkey flags getting ready for the all-star matches. I believe the all-star match is in day 2 of the main event. That should be the 19th, I think. But you can check that out. That's actually on the teams page of the Internationals website. Along with that, TI4 today, we have some big numbers in-game client. We clocked 853,000 people online in Dota 2. That is the most concurrent viewers we have ever had in the Dota 2 client. Now, we have to assume that most of these are watching the game rather than playing it, although I'm sure many people are still playing the game as well. But overall, actual viewers, there's a couple of sites that have put some things together, and we have hit over 900,000 people on day 1 of the actual tournament, not counting the wildcards, but day 1 of the actual tournament. And I believe we even peaked over 1 million, but I don't know exactly how accurate that is. And I'm not sure, does this count multiple views from the same person or not? So how accurate are these numbers? It's hard to tell, but already over 900,000 people. Great job, Dota 2, and I can't wait for the main event when things really start to heat up. We are getting a lot of publicity for Dota 2 right now. Along with that, I saw something. Let me look through my stack here really quick. I know I've got it here somewhere. International group stages, preview, day 1 predictions. I know I had it somewhere. And I've lost it in all of my tabs. I have too many tabs, guys. I guess I'll have to skip it until I accidentally wander on it again, because I just don't see it right here. Now, along with the things that have been coming out from the International, of course, I talked about Join Dota yesterday. They released a little fun episode. It was about 2 minutes long, and today's no different. It's about 3 minutes long. Matchmaking, episode 1, the pilot episode, between Toby1 and Capitalist. For those of you who didn't see, that's for sure. Meanwhile, we've got a TI4 interview on the topic of interviews. I talked about all the Dota2.com interviews. We actually had an interview coming out from Fnatic. They released a very good interview with Excalibur and Sahil. And they talk about some very interesting things about the behind the scenes, the mood, and how they think Fnatic's going to perform. So that is from Fnatic.com, but it's posted on YouTube, and I'll throw you that video as well. And that's a little bit longer. It's about 10 minutes long, as interviews often are, but it's important to watch if you really care about Fnatic as a team. It's nice to see the perspective that the people running the show actually have as the team goes into TI4. And the confidence that they have conveys in the playstyle of Fnatic right now. I think Fnatic as an organization and as the individual players are very confident in how they are right now. And that's exciting to see, because with the Era situation going into this, you had to wonder, is Era going to be at the top of his game? Not just whether or not mentally or physically because of the health reasons, but we're talking about as a team, this could have created a huge rift that they might not be able to overcome. But Era is showing, hey guys, I can do this. And that's exciting to see, because that's what you want to see as a team. You want to see them rebound from difficulties and come together and get closer from it, not farther apart. So very good for Fnatic, and there's a nice little interview with Excalibur and Sahil. If you want to see that, Along with that, there's an interview from Dota.2p.com. CIS Black. So, of course, CIS got knocked out before even getting to the international. But there's a very good, I guess, post-interview or post-match interview. A couple of videos that go over Black and how they feel about Dota. So, if you want to catch some people as they're going out and be like, okay, is that the end of CIS? Definitely go check out the interviews coming out around Black. I think he's probably one of the better known players out there, especially because of his progression from Western Dota into Eastern Dota. It's pretty interesting that there's a Western player on a Chinese team to begin with. That's a very difficult circumstance to come into, but he has pulled it off through hard work and dedication, so props to him. And it's kind of sad to see CIS go. I think they were the favorites to actually enter the competition, but Liquid certainly stepped up their game, and they are still performing today. So good job, Liquid, defeating DK, getting into the tournament to begin with. They are doing an excellent job, and I don't think anybody expected it from them. Along with that, Dota.2p.com released some group stage day one predictions, going through, of course, they always seem to analyze the stats, and they do some excellent articles, so it's an interesting read if you want to listen to some stats and how they think different teams are going to go, as well as how their model turns out. So they've got Newbie listed as losing to Invictus, which I don't believe happened, e.g. beating Fnatic, Newbie beating LGD, Liquid losing to Evil Geniuses, Evil Geniuses beating Cloud9. Now that's an important one. Evil Geniuses did not beat Cloud9. So how accurate are the predictions? Check out the article and decide for yourself how well they are doing. But there's the Dota 2P article. I just want to go ahead and throw that out there because all of their stuff seems to be so well done. On top of that, I ran across an article on Polygon.com. I'm not too familiar with Polygon.com other than I've noticed them a few times mentioning Dota as the international news came through, but I always just, I tried to choose a site that people could relate to when I wanted to mention the prize pool, not just because everybody wanted to be on the bandwagon of saying $10 million, $10 million. No, I'm not just going to choose a random site, but Polygon has been popping up as we've gone into the international, and they wrote an article today from a different perspective that we've seen, titled Dota 2 Made No Sense Until I Saw It as a Sport. And it talks about a guy who couldn't get into Dota, that traditionally he was more of a Call of Duty player, Battlefield 4 player, loved the FPSs, loved just playing against other people. And his biggest hurdle getting into Dota 2 was trying to recognize that he was part of a team. He wasn't there to showboat and just come out number one, get a bunch of kills, and you feel good about yourself and move on to the next game. It was, you have to work with those other peoples to actually complete objectives. And that as he started to see it, that it wasn't about his kill-death ratio, it was about helping his team to succeed, and he started to have fun at it. So if you're interested in kind of a newbie's perspective as they come into Dota 2, really good article, well done by this guy. Let me actually see if I can find the guy that wrote it. It probably was listed at the top. Arthur Geis writes a really good article, though, for Polygon.com, and I'll throw that over here in the chat if anybody you want to skim through that or read the whole thing. It's certainly out there. EG, though, alongside the same notes as Fnatic with their interview. This is something very cool that came out from Evil Geniuses. If you want to see a critical analysis of Fnatic, this is done by the arch enemies pretty much going into this tournament. I mean, it's EG and Fnatic. These guys are going to be at heads with each other because they're fighting to stay at the top of their game. So EG and Fnatic, huge article comes out from eg.com, evilgeniuses.gg. I said eg.com. Evilgeniuses.gg is their actual website. They release an article talking about Fnatic versus Evil Geniuses, and they do a very in-depth critical analysis of Fnatic. Not to say that they just flame Fnatic, but they actually go in and say, this is what we need to do to exploit Fnatic's weaknesses, and this is who they are. And so if you're looking at not an unbiased one, but a critical analysis of Fnatic, I think you can gain a lot of information from that, because EG has nothing to gain by fluffing up the stats of Fnatic. They are going to give you it raw and dirty, and that's certainly what they do. And so if you're interested in that, you want some more Fnatic information, very well done article by Evil Geniuses to go ahead and get yourself a little bit of an intro into Fnatic as they play today. So I thought that was interesting because that's not something we see often. And here it is today, though, by Evil Geniuses. So good job from them. On top of that, I've got Ghost Through Gamers open up here. They wrote a nice little article talking about the group stages and the group stage schedule overall. for the entire TI4, what we should expect, no team is unbeatable. I think that is something that holds very true today, especially with Fnatic and Cloud9 playing like they are. These teams are teams that can crush a best of one series because they can pop something out that you can't expect, you can't predict, because they will play anything and everything in a mismatch that you're like, how is that even possible? But it's possible because of players like Sing Sing who come in there and will play these off-lane roles or these mid roles that just look absolutely weird when you look at the draft, but they work out because these players are able to pull it off. Along with that, they say Chinese teams are the favorites. The West has a lot to prove, which was really interesting, but they discuss how the West coming into this, the Chinese teams are the hyped teams right now for that number one spot. You've got IG, you've got DK, you've got Newbie, who people are like, oh man, they're so strong, they can't be beaten. But at the same time, they do discuss that the Western teams have taken some big championships that have been worldwide championships. These Eastern teams have showed up to them. But then IG just took ESL going into this, so you have to look at that as well. And they also discussed the Southeast Asian scene, how it has so much more to prove than even the Western scene, especially with Titan, the only invite team from them. And last year, I think we had 2 or 3 Southeast Asian teams and only one this year. The other one had to qualify. That is not good for the Southeast Asian teams. But I think in large part it's because a lot of those players have migrated to other teams where you wouldn't traditionally see them. You've got players like Ice 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 who are stomping it up on DK now. And then, let's see, last subtitle teams will be all out from the group stage, which we have certainly seen today. A lot of interesting strategies will be employed. A good bunch will have disappointing exits. And this is certainly holding true right now. If things continue as they are, Alliance is not in the required position to actually continue on in the tournament. And that's scary for a returning champion to get knocked out in the first stage. And especially when you saw what Alliance did just a couple weeks ago, the way they started playing Nature's Prophet. But they had Admiral Bulldog playing Lone Druid today, which gives me hope. They are trying to bring back his heroes that he excels on. And if they can make these work, they are going to be a force to be reckoned with in the main event, assuming they make it. So there is a full, of course, article, very well done by Gosu Gamers, and I'll throw that at you guys right there. Now, I mentioned, I'm not just talking about TI4 today, and you're like, you liar, you've done nothing but talk about TI4 for the last 45 minutes. Well, here's me not being a liar. Telcom announces the Dota 2 Do Gaming Championship playoffs, and they are like, oh, who's Telcom? Who's Dota 2 Do Gaming? South African Dota. They, of course, had their championship last year, I believe they had one of these. And they even got a ticket for it. They will be having another ticket today. Now, you might be saying, who cares about South African Dota? And honestly, if I'm honest with you, nobody cares about South African Dota except for South Africans. And maybe somebody in Zimbabwe. Yeah, I don't know. Do Egyptians play on Europe, or do they play in South Africa? I have to ask an Egyptian sometime if I ever run across an Egyptian. Where do you play? Maybe they play on Russian servers. I don't know. But the reason this is important, I wanted to bring this up. This isn't just about South African Dota. The prize pool for GGC currently sits at a cool R160,000 in cash and prizes, thanks to Asus and SteelSeries who have come on board as sponsors. These tiny little tournaments in the middle of nowhere at the very southern tip of Africa are getting esports sponsors for their tournaments. And that I attribute in large part to TI4. So good job picking up these sponsors as we go into this. And this is what I want to see. I want to see anyone and everyone getting sponsors out of this. They need to have bigger prize pools for all these unheard of teams so that these teams in the middle of nowhere can develop into full teams. But some people say, I didn't even know South African Dota existed. I did, because one of the best female players I know is actually from South Africa and plays on Europe. And at the same time, I've also played on South African servers. Worst experience of my life. Out of all the matchmaking I've done, I've played in every single region repeatedly. I played 3 games on South African servers and I never went back. Most fun I had was probably the Hong Kong servers in China, but they took those away. Now you might say, Hong Kong servers, that's weird. I had 240 ping, but I played Chinese Dota with people who were 100% fluent in English the entire game. It was the most amazing fun I have had in Dota. I was like, holy crap, this is legitimate. And I had a lot of fun on Hong Kong servers, but they took those away. I don't know why they took them away. I guess some sort of deal with how Chinese servers are handled now with the perfect world and telecom servers, I guess. But yeah, the big thing with the South African tournament to take away is that they've got sponsors. And so these tournaments are getting sponsored. The little guys are and that's what you want. You don't want just all the money concentrated at the top. You want to see the little guys get boosted up from these sort of events. And that's what's happening here in South Africa. So we have a developing esports, I will call it a sapling of a tournament in South Africa. And then maybe one day they can start hosting multi-region tournaments where they start bringing everybody down to South Africa to hold the event and have a big South African Dota 2 LAN event. You never know. But as of right now, they do have some sponsors from Asus and SteelSeries who love to sponsor esports, it feels like, because I see those guys all the time. So certainly support Asus and SteelSeries if you want to buy products. Why not? They're the guys helping us out, so let's help them. Scratch the back that scratched yours. But as for that, guys, that is all the news for today, July 9th, 2014. Of course, as it pertains to Dota 2, I'm sure there's much more exciting news on your TV if you want to see murders and robbers and, I don't know, somebody winning a lottery or something. What do they even show in the news nowadays? Mostly politics, I assume. But for Dota 2, that's everything for today. We will be getting in the viewer segment shortly. But for now, follow me on Twitter at FletchDota if you want to see when I go live. Of course, FletchDota goes live every weeknight, Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. But sometimes I'm casting tournaments, and if you want to catch me casting tournaments, you got to check me out on Twitter because I'll post the stream that I'm casting in. Sometimes I'm casting on Master Fletch, my main Twitch account. Other times I'm casting on other sites. Sometimes I'm casting on Dailymotion. Dailymotion, a thriving new esports economy for streamers out there. So certainly feel free to check that out for some of the tournaments. I think there's even a Dailymotion TI stream, but I would prefer the main stream from Dota2.com over that, I think. And then Twitch secondary. But as for that, guys, you can always follow me on YouTube as well. YouTube.com/FletchDota to catch the VOD. If you can't catch the event live, always check out the VODs. I post those right after the show. And then any questions, comments, or concerns, you can always email me, masterfletch@gmail.com. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching the news segment of FletchDota, episode 12, July 9th, 2014. And I hope to see you all tomorrow for episode 13, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time.